Okay, so today I'm going to make some coasters with my Infusible Ink Pens. And as you can see, I have quite a few. If you are not familiar with Infusible ink, what it is it is essentially like what's known as a sublimation ink. So it is an ink that when heated will turn into a gas under high heat, and then it infuses directly into the fibers of whatever material or blank you are using, you are trying to press things onto. There are limitations. Generally speaking, you need to use something that is 100% polyester, especially if you're doing clothing, to keep the colors like really true and bright. You can sublimate on blends, like cotton polyester blends, but you do need to have definitely more than 50% of that blend be polyester, and the higher the blend, the better. So, you know, like 80% and above, I would say it would be your best bet. Now, there are things like these that, I mean, Cricut has a whole bunch of different sublimation blanks or infusible ink blanks. These are ceramic coasters that have like a special coating on them that allow you to use the infusible ink on these. You can also purchase mugs. There's pillow covers and cosmetic bags, and you know, there's just a ton. Cricut makes a whole bunch. They make t-shirts as well for both men, women, and children. And then there are a lot of other what would be called sublimation blanks that are available on, you know, places like Amazon and, you know, probably other vinyl and sublimation supply places. So in terms of the Cricut machines, I have a Maker and I have a Joy. So the Joy has its own set of pens. Now these are not all of them, these are a few of the ones I have. And then there are also Cricut Infusible ink markers. This is the 1mm set. There are some like these that are a little bit chunkier. These would work in the Maker. The Joy ones work in the Joy. They don't intermingle. Now these are from We Are Memory Keepers, and then Artistry also has a line of sublimation markers. I have not tried these they will not fit in my Joy without an adapter, and I'm guessing they won't fit in the Maker without an adapter either. But there are adapters available through places like Etsy that would allow you to use different size markers, definitely in your Joy, and I'm sure there are ones for the Maker as well. I've only really looked at the Joy ones. So that's what we're going to do today. And now let's go look at the software. Alright, I'm in Cricut Design Space. I have opened a new project, so I've got a blank canvas going here, and I'm going to go over to the left to the Upload button here on the lower part of the left-hand toolbar. Click on that. It takes me into the upload screen, and I'm going to upload an image. So I will hit Upload Image right there and underneath that, and I'm going to hit Browse. So this is going to open up a screen to help you navigate within your computer. Mine is already on the right folder, but you know, you could mess around in here to get to the correct folder wherever you save this SVG. Now this SVG is a like Four Seasons little coaster design. If you would like it, it will be available for free through the end of January 2021 on my blog and this YouTube video. So I do get this error message that says that there are text elements that are not supported. Import anyway. I'm going to hit continue. There are no text elements in this design, so I'm not really sure what that is referring to. And I get that a lot, so I don't know if that's become like a standard or what. But there it is. See the four coasters there, and I'm going to just, you could at this point tag it, rename it, whatever you want to do, so you could find it later. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to hit save. I will actually remind you, as it's thinking about saving it, that any free SVGs that you receive from me are for personal use only. They are not for commercial use. Like if you're going to sell things with them, That is not authorized, but you could contact me separately and we could work something out for that. All right, now here it is over here back in our upload screen. I'm going to click on it to select it. You see the green box shows it's selected. I'm going to go over here to the lower right and hit Insert Images. And that brings the 4 designs into our canvas. Now right now they are all grouped together. We don't need that, so I'm going to go over here to the Layers panel on the right and go to the top and hit Ungroup. And now each like seasonal design is grouped, and then these circles are separate from the design within them. That's because for coasters, I don't actually need the circle. I just need the design on the inside. However, if you wanted to turn this into, I don't know, like a sticker for a journal or a t-shirt design or something, and you want to keep the circle, that could be kind of cute. So I have, that's why the circles are here. Now you can resize this however you want. And I would say that the best thing to do would be to, click and drag to select the whole thing before you resize it, obviously. But, oh, it's still grouped together. Didn't I ungroup that? I thought I ungrouped that. All right, I'm going to group it again. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to click and drag to select this because these have come in too large. I'm not sure why that happens, but this isn't the only program that does that. So you can see there it's at 4.375, and the coasters are actually more like 3.5. So I've selected the circle and the design. The lock is locked because I want the aspect ratio to stay the same. I'm going to go up to the size at the top, and in the width box, I'm going to type in 3.5. You could do it in the height box too, either way. So that resizes this down to the size we need it at. Now these other 3, I'm not going to use right now. We are only going to do the winter one. So to make that easy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this group, and over here on the layers panel, at the very top under the name, I'm going to click on this little eyeball icon here to turn it off, and so that you can see the whole thing disappears because it's now hidden. And then right underneath that is the circle, and I'm going to do the same thing for that one. So I'm just going to go through each of these and turn each of them off, or hide them is technically the correct name. Now you can go in and do each individual layer, but it's much easier to just do the group. All right, and then even on this one, which is at the very top, I'm going to turn off the circle because we don't need it. Now the last thing we need to do, well, a couple things. I need to click and drag to grab this, although I could have just clicked it because it's grouped. And then I'm going to go down to the lower right and hit Attach. Attach is basically telling the software that it needs to leave all of the elements exactly as we see them right now on the canvas when it takes it to the mat. And since I want to draw this, that's what I need to do. So the last thing I need to do is change this to a draw file because everything always defaults to cut. So to do that, I'm going to go up here to the upper toolbar on the left under line type. You'll see it says cut. If I click on the drop down menu, I'm going to change it to draw. Now I am on my Joy machine, so the only options are cut and draw because it's a fairly simple machine. The Maker gives you a lot more choices, so does the Explorer Air machine, so just be aware of that. But pick draw. If you want to, you can go in and make sure you've got the right pen selected. I'm not sure that overly matters as long as you know what pen you're going to be using. But I am using a fine point black. All right, so now I'm going to go over here and the upper right and click Make It. And with my Joy, it asks, do I want to do this without a mat, on a mat, or with the card mat? Now I'm going to be drawing this, so I'm going to use a mat. So I will select on mat and hit done. And then you'll see it brings up the little Joy mat. Now this is in the upper left corner. That's a little bit close for me, so I'm going to pull this down a little bit so it's more like 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch over roughly. And so I can kind of tell by looking at the mat that I'm going to need a piece of paper that's about 4.5 by 4.5, roughly, to get this drawn successfully on it. I did move it down because ideally I want some space around it when I have to cut it out to fit it on the coaster. So that's why I did that. All right, so now I would hit continue. It's connecting to my Joy. So your machine does need to be on at this point. It's going to ask you to set the base material. Now what you want is laser copy paper, because literally you're going to use a piece of printer paper to draw this on. That's all you need. You don't need anything special, anything fancy, just need some copy paper. Now I've favorited this, but if you don't have that there, you would just go to Browse All Materials and then scroll down, and under Paper, you will find laser copy paper. Now it doesn't matter if it's laser or not, like mine isn't specifically laser copy paper, it's just regular copy paper. It will still work. So you would click that to select it and then hit done. And then it's going to tell you to load your pen and load the mat into the machine. So let's go over to the machine now. All right, so here's my little machine. The light is flashing because it's waiting for me to load the mat. Now, you do need to be using a light grip mat for this. I've got the 4x12, you could use the 4x6. And then I have this piece of just regular old copy paper, cut to 4.5 by 4.5, and I'm going to stick it down on my mat. Oop. Now you want the light grip mat because copy paper is really lightweight. And I think if you put it on a standard size mat or a standard grip mat, it would probably tear. So that's not great. All right, and then you want one of these Cricut Joy 4.4 black Infusible Ink Pens. I'm going to open my little clamp there, pull out the blade, and then I'm just going to sit this right down. And it stops like right at, there's a little, I don't know, ridge lip there. So it'll stop right when it hits that, and that's perfectly correct. That's all you need to do. And then I'll just close the clamp again. And now I'm going to push and load the mat. Okay, and back over in the software, I'm going to hit go. Alright, so it says this is complete, and I'm going to hit unload to unload the mat. Alright, and there we go. Now you'll notice that some of the lines, it just did the outline. So I will be filling those in with the black pen that we used to draw it, and then I will color the rest of this. So let me get this off the mat. Now I do want to point out that the Joy, when it draws, I don't know if you can see right there, there's like sort of a dot right at the top of the snowbank, and there's one here. It's actually on all of them, and that's because when it draws, it like kind of goes down, and then it draws. So it bumps it down, and then it's going on the paper. So you get these little extra sort of bits where the marker is initially hitting the paper. So just be aware of that. It's something to maybe try to color out if you can. We'll see if it shows up in the final design, because you can still sort of see it even though I have colored this in already. So we'll find out. Okay, so I'm going to color the trees brown. Anytime you color over another color, you're not going to cover it up. So this black is still going to be there. We'll see what happens if the brown and the black will blend if I color brown on top of it. But since black is so much darker than brown, I have a feeling it's going to look much like it does now, except with brown in sort of the lighter areas. Okay, so I've trimmed it down, and then I've also cut apart these, like put sort of slits in the bottom. And I will probably have to do it as I go around the top, just to make this easier to adhere to the coaster. So I'm gonna flip this upside down. And hopefully you can see like the line around here. I'm gonna try to get the coaster just inside that line. And then to adhere this onto the coaster, because it's very important that it remains flat during the heating process, I'm going to use this heat resistant tape. So this is Cricut brand. There are many, many brands available. You do not have to use Cricut. There are certainly some other sublimation heat transfer tapes available on places like Amazon and that kind of thing. So, you know, any brand will work. And it also is reusable, so that's kind of nice. Okay, so I've got my design all taped up. Might have gone a little nuts on the tape. And my EasyPress is set to 400 degrees for 240 seconds. This is according to the Cricut setting website. And here's all my heat tape that I can reuse. I've got 2 pieces of cardstock on top of my EasyPress mat. I also have a towel underneath mine, but you know, that's not, you don't have to have that. Alright, so you put it designs facing down, piece of butcher paper over the top, and then with Infusible ink you have to be very careful to not move the heat press. So I'm going to set it down and then not touch it until it's done after 240 seconds. Alright, it's about to finish, so I'm going to need to lift this straight up so that I don't move the design at all. And I will pull off the parchment paper. It is really burned. You might be able to tell that the cardstock's pretty burned too. Now this is super hot, so I'm not going to touch it for at least half an hour to let it completely cool down, and then we'll unwrap it. So I'll be back then. Okay, this has cooled completely, and now I'm just going to peel off the tape. You can see how some of the ink is transferred to the cardstock, and the cardstock's pretty singed. Pretty cute. You may notice the colors are a lot brighter now that it has been sublimated into the coaster, and that surface is completely flat. That design is like right in that shiny surface. So really fun and an easy project. So if you haven't tried Infusible ink before, I highly recommend that you do so. I think it's really, really fun and not difficult to do at all. Here's another video in my Infusible ink series if you're interested, as well as another Cricut video. Thank you so much for watching. Supplies are linked in the video description and over on my blog. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, and hey, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet as well. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day.